Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Attack of Opportunity, where we corner an unsuspecting guest, ask them all kinds of questions about why they play these games, being geeky and such. And yeah, I guess after 30-odd episodes or 50-odd episodes that we've done, the questions can get real repetitive, but I always find the answers wonderful, charming, and I hope you do as well. And today, we have, out of the gate, a wonderful, up-and-coming, and doing quite well, I might add, out of the gate. We have Allard LaRue from the Dice Crisis podcast. Allard, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Jeff. I'm excited to talk about some stuff.
So the very first question that we always ask our victims here on the show is, how did you first know? How old were you when you first discovered that you were a geek, a nerd, one of us, or are you?
I think it kind of started early-ish on when I probably held on to Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh longer than most of my friends, but I think it was solidified when I quit basketball to join Knowledge Bowl. Those people were more fun to hang out with sometimes.
That's a defining move, yeah.
All right.
I was going to say, the next question is, was there a defining moment for you or a gateway drug like video games, card games, cosplay, that type of thing? And you're talking about Yu-Gi-Oh, the card game, if I'm not...
definitely played a lot of that with just friends around school, and then my cousin mostly once all that reservoir was gone. But never really took it very far. I'm from a really small town, so there really wasn't a nerdy, geeky community. It was either you're hick, you're jock, or you're just kind of everyone else. And so I didn't even know about our tabletop RPGs and stuff until 10th grade, when some new kid came from the cities and started talking about it a little bit. So kind of late to the party, but I've kind of always had that in me. I think video games really kind of sprung it. My brother was always playing video games, so I don't remember a time when we didn't have video games. So
one leads to the other. So how long have you been a gamer?
Pretty much my whole life. You could probably say that the first games I played were either Pokemon Crystal or into GoldenEye, kind of Mario 64. I think we did actually have the old Super Mario thing with Duck Hunt and stuff too.
GoldenEye old 64, man. You're talking my language. And here comes the Attack of Opportunity part of the show. Imagine 8 people drinking, unfortunately, around someone's birthday party, and we set up 2 units, 2 televisions, and 4 guys on each couch in the same room, and it was a competition. And after the first rounds of shooting or whatever, right, if you won, you'd work your way up to the A couch, and if you lost on the A couch, you'd work your way down to the B couch, to sort of who is the best, of the 8 of us kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you'd think, especially with a couple beers and everybody, you think that this would, be a big shuffle, but it really turned out to 3 guys on the A, 3 guys on the B, and just me and another guy kind of I won, I go up, oh, I lost, to come down, back and forth, and loved running around that game with the, watching the avatars run around like this, that kind of thing.
Mode on.
Yeah. Good times, right? So, how long have you been playing RPGs specifically?
That's been about 5 years. I think so. I've been out of college for 3 years now. So I think halfway through college, my buddy Michael, who's playing at the table with me, wanted to get something together. And we're like, okay, so we're going to start learning how to play D&D. And he goes, no, we're going to learn how to play Pathfinder. Then he knew a friend who was really into helping people come into the community and stuff like that, and she helped us build our first characters, and a year later that character of mine died, and continued on. We were playing Rise of the Runelords for over 2 years, just kind of dinking around, not really knowing what we were doing too much, and eventually I started listening to the actual play podcast and stuff, and it sounded really a lot of fun around the table. And it sounded like it made the players kind of commit more to the lore and actually sticking to the plot. which was what we were kind of lacking. Like we would have fun, fight stuff, kind of mess around, be funny, whatever. But I really wanted to delve more into the kind of Pathfinder lore that I thought was interesting, and thought that whole transition was somewhat necessary to convince my friends to stick with it.
There's an article on Reddit about how the Glass Cannon podcast, yes, I do, will go on about them, has influenced a huge influx and increase from the 5th edition D&D podcasts, which are dozens and dozens and hundreds and a dime a dozen, no offense to them, and the Pathfinder podcast, which started out like there were like 6, and now there's like 30, 40, kind of thing, self-included. You start off with Pathfinder, you started listening to some actual plays. Can you say that there was possibly someone in the community, another podcaster that influenced you or like inspired you to start your own?
Yeah, I think like besides like just knowing GCP and listening to them since not right away, but somewhat early on, I think the one that got me into it and I was like, oh wow, role-playing games can be really cool was the Trailblazer podcast. He did Caleb, I can't remember his last name, but Caleb from Trailblazer, he threw on a really good show. And there was, I don't want to like spoil some big kind of season 1 ending, but there's a fun scene in there where I was like, okay, this is the story that I kind of want to try to delve into. And then he also did the Pathfinder Academy podcasts, and that's kind of what helped me develop my knowledge behind the game and stuff.
I know that one. That Pathfinder Academy I'm actually familiar with. Now it's all starting to sink in. And, Caleb, if you're listening, let's do lunch. Have your people call my people and want to get you on the show. It's probably not going to happen. So what you're getting inspired by listening to APs, actual play podcasts. You're playing Rise of Runelords, but what made you to actually decide making your own content? I mean, like, did you and your buddy, are you the guy behind Dice Crisis? Did you talk everybody into it? Or is like you and my good buddy, Ed over here, the two of us said, we got to do this kind of thing. Like, how did this formulate, I guess is my...
So a little bit of backstory. Me and my player, Kyle, we're both music/audio majors. And we had, right before we started recording, we had tried to start our own audio production company. And so we had an office set up and stuff like that. And I really wanted to get into kind of creating my own content and not being the best songwriter or really much of a songwriter at all. I was like, okay, I miss doing sound for film. I really like story. I like playing games. And then when I really started getting into actual play podcasts, that checks all the boxes for everything that I wanted to do kind of creatively. Cool.
So you mentioned your studio. Where are you creating your content from? Are you all guys and mics and ladies around a table? Or are you like myself where everyone is online and you very rarely get to use the studio with the odd friend coming over? Or like let's talk about your setup. Like where does the magic happen?
Well, we had an office in downtown Minneapolis kind of area, and it was really cool. It was actually in the old grain belt buildings. So they used to bottle beer in the building that we had our first office in. But I was eventually able to buy my own house, and I bought it for this basement and for this wall that you can see behind me. And we moved our studio down here, so now we don't have to pay rent in an office.
Cool.
So everybody around the table down here, and just see where the game takes us, I guess.
And you got some really great shots up on Instagram. That's one of the things that drew me to you was, just that proverbial someone decided to pull out the camera and they get a nice long shot of the table, everything. And you've got your one friend there just working away on something. And it looks like a gaming room, even though it is set up for, it does look like the proverbial, you see the right kind of table, the right kind of feel in a room. It's like you just want a game.
Yeah, exactly. And when I went and saw this house, I was like, this is probably the perfect basement for what I'm looking for, or for what I can envision right now. So
right on. So how long have you been creating content?
I mean, we are 20, we have recorded 25 episodes so far. So but we kind of started figuring out production probably a little bit before that. So we've been recording for 6 months or so. But
Really?
So we have a big backlog ready to go, and we wanted to get our logistics set up before we started releasing our shows. So,
And how many different shows do you have?
We just have one right now, but we're thinking of kind of or preparing for a live stream. So my buddy Michael, who's at our table, he is going to be GMing which one we're playing? We're GMing Beyond the Vault of Souls module that we're gonna try to do over stream on Mixer. Probably restream at Twitch though too.
It's a step up in commitment, I gotta say. Like,
it really is.
You know, goodbye all the editing, all the inappropriate comments, and all that stuff that, you know, you got to learn. You never realize how much you swear, you say things like and all that kind of, until you actually live stream. And there's no taking it back. I mean, even if you pre-record something and put it up to save time, video editing is a nightmare. So what I'm saying is kudos to you if you want, if you're bold enough to try that. We've been dabbling in that this year. We've been very lucky to get in bed with Corey Thomas from Dark Galaxies Gaming, try to start our own Twitch channel, the GM's Cut on Twitch, and through Corey we got Fantasy Grounds as a sponsor. And once you do that, like, there's no turning back. There's no, everything else has to become second. And now we have fans going, why is your Star Wars show bi-weekly? It used to be weekly. We're like, about that. We're doing a whole bunch of this now, and less time for that. So be wary, young man. Don't spread yourself too thin too fast.
Try not to. That's why I'm not trying to GM a second one, letting another player take over. So we have, we kind of have loose plans for 3 little kind of mini adventures and stuff down the line. So everyone's going to take a shot at GMing over the live stream, and we also are into maybe trying to just play board games online on streams and see how that goes, just for fun, and because we have the equipment, and we would be just kind of more ways to show or poke your head up and say, hey, we're in the community doing things.
Right on. So would you be at liberty to disclose the titles of these one-shots so we have something to look forward to?
Sure. I think so. We're Beyond the Vault of Souls would be the first one. Then the second one, we bought now we're switching into a little bit of D&D, trying to kind of get a flavor for both. We got it's like the beginner red box set, but Stranger Things themed, but we're not actually running around fighting a Demigorgon, although they did give pawns, so maybe the Demigorgons will be in there. But it's an adventure written by Mike Wheeler, so it says. So we're gonna check that out and see if that's any fun. And then the other one we're gonna get we have ready to go. I think Kyle is preparing that one, and Eli's doing the Stranger Things one. Is the Rick and Morty versus D&D. That sounds gimmicky enough to be fun for a stream.
Yeah, I saw that, and my son's a big Rick and Morty fan, and he's tuned me into a couple of those, like the heist one, son of a bitch, I'm in, and all that kind of thing. But how do they turn it into the anime into like a board game? Like, is it just an adventure where you get to be Rick or Morty? Or
I think so. I think it's written out as a D&D adventure, but I think so. All of the player characters that they give you are either like Rogue Morty or something along those lines. I haven't got to really look at it yet. Kyle took it away. So
okay.
It's definitely a D&D adventure, probably kind of classically themed, but with that kind of Rick and Morty twist flavor on it. I'm really sure.
Dark, fun, graphic, adult humor. Can't get enough of it.
I imagine. Have you seen the new episode with like the dragons and stuff?
I did see the dragon one where he soul bonds to a dragon, and that was it was funny.
That area,
dark. Yeah, it was dark. So, with a couple of new one shots on the way. And digging 20 episodes, nothing sneeze up for the Dice Crisis. What does the Dice Crisis actually have? What are you actually playing for the main show?
We're playing Paizo's Adventure Path Second Darkness. That's
the one with the drow.
The one. Ooh, don't shh. They're just
sorry.
a myth. No one knows they really exist. Well, there are people who kind of do, but yeah, they're considered to be a legend or myth at the beginning of this adventure.
Okay. I had a look at that. I flipped to like the last book and had an end game look to see what the players have to go through. And I got to say, there's some original ideas of what the players go through. Yeah. Especially in a role-playing aspect. I don't want to give too much away, but I can understand after the huge, like 20 years of Dritz Stewart why people aren't like jumping at the whole Dro thing right now. But this is a different twist. You know, like if you still have the Underdark in your heart, Second Darkness, I think, is worth a second look.
Yeah, I think so too. And it seems to, the plot really aligns to kind of some of the main history points through Galarian. So it seems like a more, I don't know, a more important, important's not really the right word, but just kind of
pushes world history along.
Yeah, it pushes world history along and takes a look back at some of those events that really affected how Galarian is today. So, and this kind of similar themes of moments in history without getting too into the spoilers.
Right. Yeah. So I know you guys are fresh out of the gate kind of thing, but do you attend conventions, gatherings? Like, is there a spot where the fans can meet you, and if so, where?
We haven't gone to any conventions yet. We're actually looking at some. I think I wanted to head over to PaizoCon, but that might be a little expensive at this point. I think Origins is somewhat likely, more likely, but we like you mentioned, we're super new, so we don't have a lot of experience in which ones to look for or kind of how to prepare for them, I guess. I've gone to a point of purchase display convention before. Some machining conventions. I don't think that's the same though.
No, hey, you're getting out. Just glad hand people your card. There you go. So how about social media? What outlets can we find you on? Where can we find you online?
Social medias. I mean, our main hub of a website right now is the dicecrisis.podbean.com. We'll eventually kind of make our own dedicated website, but we're kind of using that as somewhat of a hub. From that, you can find all of our social media links, or just go to @thedicecrisis on everything: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Our Tumblr is thedicecrisis.tumblr.com, and there Michael's posting a lot of the pictures and just kind of flavor details from the story, so to kind of more immerse yourself into what's happening. I think that's pretty much all of our main ones at this point. Our Discord, we have a link on our Twitter. I have a pinned tweet with all the links on it, so you can easily check that out too. Our Discord's brand new, so
yeah, so I jumped in there. Speaking of Discord and Twitter, shout out to a guy that's a huge help to people like myself and Allard here, Jason Lewis of What Do You Do on Twitter. Now, here's a guy that loves podcasts, listens to a bunch, and constantly tells the world what to listen to, where to find it, what episode each show is on, has his own Discord, and we all jump in there and meet and greet and spam and talk to each other type of thing. And he's building a really welcoming community and making a lot of people aware of the Pathfinder Starfinder community that, just didn't get out of the gate as fast as the 5th edition D&D community. And it's because of Jason that I found you, that we're doing this interview. I found you on his site and hanging around with Twitter and making comments and, liking his post kind of thing. Yeah, and I just want to point out,
it kind of opened the floodgates to you and everybody else. I feel like his welcoming really helped usher in the warm welcoming that we've received from everybody at this point. So
yeah, the nicest compliment I ever got from Jason was one of our biggest shows is our Pathfinder War for the Crown show called Dice Before Dishonor. And the quick history behind that is I was listening to GCP's Cannon Father and Joe and Troy LaValle, if they were dating, it'd be Joy. Talk about mounted combat. They talk about Skid's up and coming release, and it was either going to be War for the Crown, likely, or Aslanti. And thank God he went for Aslanti, because I was looking at those for a new show. And I have too much respect for the GCP to try to put up something that they're already doing.
Yeah,
and we said War for the Crown. Anyway, Troy offhandedly says, you know what I want to see? Right after Joe was talking about a fan letter, talking about all Vigilante Party and all Cavalier Party, blah, blah, blah.
I remember him talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was brilliant. And we were already looking at War for the Crown. So we dropped out of nowhere 3 Cavaliers and 1 Fly Samurai. And it's our playing ground to constantly poke fun affectionately at the GCP. I mean, we even have a player that had no idea Joe was playing Halfling Cavalier on a wolf, and he made up a Halfling Cavalier on a wolf. So I get to make Magical Stairs comments and all this stuff. Anyway, getting back to Jason, there are 3 or 4 now. I think there's about 6 War for the Crown pots, and people were asking him, which one should I listen to? And I didn't get the best GM award, but Jason pointed people our way because we had the best audio quality.
Nice.
I didn't care. I was just thanking him, going, "Oh, thank you for pointing people in our direction," as opposed to the one that Crystal Fraser's in. That actually she wrote it, and that type of thing. So,
GM by the person who wrote it. I mean, just for wanting to listen to it. Luckily, their audio quality wasn't all that good, but it was still what they've put out so far is really good.
I know, and like I said, I my hat's off, even to the competitor. But we picked the one podcast that, first of all, was put together on a lark, and then second of all, like, how many podcasts where your competition is the person that wrote the damn book? Right. Oh crap! Then we have Two Perception that's backed by Paizo, and they live stream. And they are so far ahead of us in, type of thing. And they're all a bunch of great people. And, they're putting up their content. And that's one thing, again, getting back to the Jason Ellis, is I shouldn't call any podcast a competition. They're not your competitor. People will have a preference. They like your style, like the other person's style. And good for them that they actually got to find, War for the Crown or Second Darkness. Now you yourself, there isn't a lot of Second Darkness.
Yeah, we really lucked into that.
Yeah, pods out there.
Because we were looking at, I think the ones we were between was like Second Darkness and Strange Aeons, but right away Glass Cannon started doing that on their live tour, so we're like, okay, second Darkness it is. But my players already like the kind of Underdark and it's not called the Underdark in Pathfinder, is it?
No, that's Front Realms reference. It's called the Darklands, yeah.
Lands. So they really like that theme, and then like starting out in Riddleport I feel like Riddleport's not talked about a lot, but a really kind of cool city to mess around in. So they really like those kind of themes and stuck with it. And we were probably like 15 or so episodes into recording before I found Jason at What Do You Do and saw that there was nobody else doing this adventure path. So yeah, we got lucky with that.
I love his spreadsheet. He puts a spreadsheet online. It shows you every path, every AP, who's doing it, and what it's called. And we're just my cast and I are just so tickled to look at that list and go, "Oh, look, there we are!" And oh, wait a minute, who's this? like a brand new one, and we check them out, and that kind of thing. Yeah, no, it's very welcoming, warming community, and I'll admit, like, this show was started, the Attack Opportunity was to, like, a behind the scenes look at us. And when we burned out a cast, we just got the idea to, like, why don't we interview other content creators? Now, yes, I will opportunity you and tell you my little anecdotes and reflect a bunch of things back to our personal experience of our podcast network. But show me another podcast that will interview people for free, up and coming and everything, that they can take to their fans. And this is, I know, it's kind of a weird attempt, but it is kind of our way of trying to spend some time with the community and give back to the community. And when someone like you comes down the pipe and you're brand new and you're excited and you're doing something no one does, the community, we all get excited with you.
Yeah,
expect great things, big things.
It's really nice being like coming in brand new to a community and just having them be excited for what you're putting out and supportive and helping you out with little technical things or setting up a Discord or what have you. So thank you to all of the Pathfinder TTRPG community. It's been great.
So I guess you're too new for us to talk about merchandise that your fans.
Yeah.
You don't have a coffee mug I can buy or something.
When we've obviously talked about stuff like that, but we want to develop our following more before we kind of throw that out to anybody.
There is one thing we use is a Teespring, and what I like is you can control your own profit margin, like whether you put your logo on a mug or a T-shirt or whatever that you do through this, third party. They want their $12 for making your shirt or your mug, and unfortunately, shipping is going to cost your fan like another $10 to $15. So they're already paying like $25, almost $30 for your product, and you haven't made a dime. And we were so happy just that somebody would buy a T-shirt. Teespring goes, oh, and you want your $12. Well, now they're paying $40, $50, and it's like, well, who are you?
Yeah.
It's not like you're shaking hands with Mercer. You know what I'm saying? So we stripped our profit margin down, like way down, so that people wouldn't go, I'm not paying $50. Who is this guy? That kind of thing. So that, so that the product gets out there. And I don't know if a lot of other companies can do that. So that's a shout out to Teespring, and you can find us at teespring.com/rollmongers. If you venture down that road, sir, give them a look. And, you can also take part of that profit margin like we do and donate it to one of a billion charities, and they'll help set you up like that. Sorry, filling in the merchandise question for you because you didn't.
I mean, thanks for the advice on what to look into. That sounds similar to an Etsy kind of shop.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. This is the one we got using. So some personal questions before we wrap up. Allard, what do you do? What do you do for a living?
Right now, I work for my dad's company, and we make point of purchase displays and kind of signage for companies. Target's our big one right now, so we make almost all the overhead hanging signs for Target, and we've gotten to kind of the cosmetic industry, and we make all the, not all of them, but a lot of holders for Sephora and Bare Essentials and all that kind of stuff. So what I do is I get prints in for whatever we're trying to sell or whatever we're trying to make, and I go through all of the pieces to it. I find out how much material it's going to take and what kind of material we need to make the thing, and then I, within our program, kind of estimate how long it's going to take to cut something, to glue something together, and then our program puts all that information together, and I give my project managers a price. So I tell people how much things cost.
Cool. So for those of us that are not backed up in behind the scenes of the retail industry and the sales industry, could you explain point of purchase?
That's actually one I don't have a good definition for, but I just kind of hear it more as a buzzword than actually get defined these days. But point of purchase, it's like you have a display that holds a product that you can kind of like pick up and look and like maybe sample and stuff like that and put it back. So more of instead of just like a shelf that holds something, it's a display that kind of gets people to interact with the product and really kind of pick it up.
And they got to be there at ground zero. It's not like an online store kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's the point. Like I took it as like a GPS point, and no, that's good. So we've been speaking with Allard LaRue from the Dice Crisis podcast. He is doing the Adventure Path Second Darkness. Apparently, Drow are just a myth. We'll have to watch and listen to his show, and some up and coming live streaming. We have? Is it the Dice Crisis? Have you locked down the name Dice Crisis Twitch TV?
Not on Twitch. So my buddy Eli, my player Eli, he's on Mixer quite a bit. So we want to try to see if the kind of Mixer kind of community is a little bit less saturated for some of these kind of D&D things or tabletop RPG kind of games. But I think we're gonna restream to Twitch. I think we did get the Dice Crisis on Mixer, but maybe not on Twitch. We don't know yet.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm GM Jeff Ball, your host, and we will see you next time on Attack of Opportunity.
Say it.
That's it. You can say goodbye now. We're leaving.
Bye.
We're gonna go watch some Rick and Morty and maybe hang out.
I'm gonna go record a session. So see you guys later.
Have a good night.